The classroom buzzed with laughter, until it turned cruel that a little girl stood alone at the front, holding a photo of her father in his Marine uniform. The class was supposed to be celebrating Hero Day, but for one little girl, it became the most humiliating moment of her life. Emily stood at the front of the classroom, proudly holding a picture of her father, a Marine who had spent years risking his life for his country. Her small hands trembled, but her smile was full of pride. Her voice shook as she said, "My dad protects people." She had barely added, "My dad is my hero," when the room shifted. Instead of support, her teacher smirked. "Sweetheart," she said loudly, "a Marine? That's nothing special." She made sure every child heard her. "Try choosing a real hero next time." The class erupted into giggles, the teacher's words echoing like a cruel chant. Emily's smile collapsed. Her eyes filled with tears she tried desperately to hide. She hugged the photo to her chest, wishing her dad were there to defend her, just once. And then, as if the universe had heard her silent cry, just as the teacher opened her mouth to mock her again, the classroom door creaked open and a tall man in full Marine uniform stepped inside. And beside him walked a massive, disciplined K9 German Shepherd. Every kid stopped laughing. The teacher's face drained of color. She had no idea who she had just insulted. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The morning sun filtered through the classroom windows as students buzzed with excitement. Today was My Hero Day, and every child had brought something to show: a drawing, a photo, a small object that reminded them of the person they admired most. Laughter echoed through the room as kids proudly took turns standing at the front, sharing stories about their parents, siblings, or favorite celebrities. When it was finally Emily's turn, she walked slowly to the front of the class, clutching a printed photograph with both hands. Her red dress swayed gently as she turned toward her classmates. With a tiny, hopeful smile, she lifted the picture, a Marine in uniform. "This is my dad," she said softly. "He's my hero because he protects people." Before the class could react, Ms. Carter, arms crossed, expression sharp, let out a short, dismissive laugh. "A Marine? Sweetheart, that's nothing special," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Lots of people join the military. It doesn't make them heroes." A ripple of giggles spread across the room. One boy at the back pointed and snickered. "Yeah, big deal." Another whispered loudly, "My dad's cooler than that." Emily's smile vanished. Her fingers tightened around the photo, knuckles turning white. She opened her mouth to defend him, but no words came out. Ms. Carter shook her head, unimpressed. "Next time, try choosing someone with a real achievement." Emily lowered her gaze, tears pooling in her eyes. Quietly, she whispered to herself, "My dad is special. You just don't know him." Emily walked back to her seat slowly, each step heavier than the last. She pressed the photo of her father against her chest, hoping no one would see the tears gathering beneath her lashes. The room still buzzed with whispered jokes, little bursts of laughter slipping from corners where kids leaned into each other, repeating Ms. Carter's words like it was something funny. Ms. Carter didn't stop them. Instead, she straightened the stack of papers on her desk and said, almost casually, "Children, not everything is heroic just because someone wears a uniform. Some careers are simply overrated." Emily flinched. She knew those words were meant for her. She raised her hand timidly. "Ms. Carter, my dad helps people." Emily, the teacher cut in sharply, not even looking up, "Sit properly. We're moving on." A few students turned and recorded her with their phones, whispering, "This is crazy. And she's gonna cry." Emily swallowed hard, her throat burning. She wished her dad were here, just once, to tell her it was okay. Just once, to stand beside her when people laughed. She looked down at her father's photograph again. In her heart, she whispered, "Daddy, please come home soon." Ms. Carter was still lecturing the class about real heroes when a soft creak echoed across the room. The classroom door slowly swung open. No one had knocked. No one expected anyone. Every head turned. First, the students saw only a shadow, a tall figure standing in the doorway. Then, as the light shifted, a man stepped forward. Broad shoulders, clean, pressed Marine uniform, boots dusted from travel, A presence so commanding the air itself seemed to tighten. Beside him padded a massive German shepherd, alert and disciplined, its eyes scanning the room with trained precision that Emily's breath caught. Dad, she whispered. Sergeant Cole took one more step inside, his gaze immediately locking onto his daughter. The hardness in his posture softened, just a little. Hey, sweetheart, he said, voice warm but strong. A wave of shocked gasps rippled through the classroom. The rowdy boys who had laughed moments earlier straightened in their seats, suddenly silent. A girl dropped her pencil. Someone whispered, "Oh my God, he's a real Marine." But the person who reacted the most was Ms. Carter. Her smirk vanished. Her face drained of color as her eyes darted from the uniform to the K9, to Emily. She froze in place, hands suspended midair, the insult she was about to throw dying instantly in her throat. Sergeant Cole gave a polite nod. "I'm here for career day. My daughter asked me to speak." Behind him, the K9 let out a low, protective rumble, directed straight at Ms. Carter. Sergeant Cole stepped to the front of the classroom with calm authority. Shadow, his K9 partner, sat beside him, alert, steady, and watching every movement in the room. The children leaned forward, their earlier laughter replaced by wide-eyed curiosity. "Good morning," Sergeant Cole began, his voice firm yet warm. "Emily asked me to share what I do. I'm a Marine, and this is Shadow. We work together to keep people safe." Shadow gave a soft bark, as if confirming every word. The students were instantly fascinated that he continued. "Being a Marine means long nights, months away from home, and walking into danger so others don't have to. It means missing birthdays, missing first days of school." His eyes softened as he glanced at Emily. "Missing moments that matter. But we do it because protecting people is worth it." The room fell silent. He knelt beside Shadow, resting a hand on the dog's sturdy back. "This partner of mine has saved lives. Children, families, soldiers. He has found lost people and stood between danger and innocence more times than I can count." Whispers spread through the class, admiration replacing mockery. Ms. Carter swallowed hard, her earlier arrogance crumbling. She shifted uncomfortably, avoiding Emily's eyes. Sergeant Cole rose slowly. "Heroes don't always wear capes," he said. "Sometimes they wear uniforms." Emily's face glowed with pride. Shadow's deep, steady gaze never left Ms. Carter. The room absorbed Sergeant Cole's words. A boy from the back slowly raised his hand. "Sir, there's something you should see," he said nervously. Before anyone could stop him, he pressed play on his phone. The classroom filled with the sound of Ms. Carter's voice. "Being a Marine isn't anything special. Try choosing someone with a real achievement." Mocking laughter. Emily's trembling voice. The entire class froze. Ms. Carter shot up from her chair. "Turn that off. That's taken out of context." But the damage was done. The Marine turned toward her, expression calm but unmovable. "Ma'am," he said evenly, "respect is something you teach through actions, not words." Her face flushed with panic. I didn't mean." The door opened again. The principal stepped inside, drawn by the commotion. "What's going on here?" Several students pointed at the teacher. Others held up their phones silently. The principal's eyes darkened as he listened to the recording. "Ms. Carter, we'll discuss this in my office." Immediately, the teacher's confidence collapsed. She looked small, shaken, and suddenly aware of the consequences. She followed the principal out. Shadow gave one quiet, sharp bark. Emily felt justice. Finally, beginning, the door clicked shut behind Ms. Carter and the principal, leaving a heavy silence in the room. Slowly, the students turned toward Emily, no longer with mockery, but with guilt, awe, and something new. Respect. Emily stood quietly beside her father, still holding the photo she had brought. Sergeant Cole placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "You were brave today," he said softly. "Braver than most people ever have to be." Before she could respond, Shadow, the massive K9, walked forward and nudged his head against her arm. His warm breath puffed softly against her hand, as if he was comforting her. Emily giggled through the last of her tears. One of the boys stepped up. "Emily, I'm sorry," he murmured. A few others followed, offering apologies, even shy smiles. Sergeant Cole nodded. "It takes courage to admit when you're wrong." "Thank you." The atmosphere shifted completely, fear replaced by admiration. The children crowded around, asking questions about the Marine life. Shadow's missions, and how Emily's dad stayed so strong that as they talked. Shadow suddenly stepped in front of Emily, positioning himself protectively, his chest out, tail low but firm. It was a gesture every trained Marine recognized, a silent promise. She's safe. I'm watching her, Sergeant Cole smiled. Looks like Shadow's chosen his favorite person in this room. Emily beamed, wrapping her arms around the dog's neck. When they finally walked out of the classroom, father, daughter, and K9, the halls felt brighter. Teachers peeked out of doors, whispering in awe at the Marine's presence. Emily held her dad's hand proudly. For the first time that day, she felt seen, valued, protected, and she knew one thing for sure. Her hero wasn't nothing special. He was everything.